Radio Times does gaming.
GTA 6 has been delayed until the 19th of November, but guess what, Alex? There's plenty other games coming out.
So I've heard.
And guess what? We've actually already played a bunch of them and spoken to a bunch of the developers.
We have?
We have. Remember?
Wow.
You've got to remember. No, we have. We've got so many great games coming up throughout the year to see people through. I do think, like, if someone was, like, thinking of buying, like, a PlayStation to play GTA and now they're holding off, I might say you can buy one anyway. There's lots of other games coming out.
There are lots of other games coming out.
Get in the ecosystem.
2026 is not holding back on the games that are,
No.
that are coming out next year.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like, obviously GTA was originally meant to come in 25, I think was the first date they said. And so I think all of these games maybe thought they were dodging GTA by being in 2026, but now...
Yeah, no dice.
No dice. But there's plenty of months before November. But yeah, there's a lot more than GTA. There's plenty more fish in the sea. Let's jump into one of these interviews, shall we?
I think we shall.
All right then, let's go.
Radio Times does gaming.
Well, thanks so much for showing us the game just now. I think it's so cool, you know, there's a new Scott Pilgrim story, new Scott Pilgrim game. How did it kind of come about?
So it was a natural progression kind of after Scott Pilgrim had the film, then the anime. Bryan realized pretty quickly that there was a want for more, and a lot of things that people had been asking for was another Scott Pilgrim game. And so it was kind of a natural progression of things. I believe Bryan reached out, or we reached out to Bryan, or I think somebody at Universal was like, okay, we want to make another Scott Pilgrim game. And so naturally, since a lot of the team who works at Tribute worked on the original game, it was natural to come back to us to be able to make this brand new game.
Nice. And then how did it kind of go about, expanding from an idea into a whole game? It sounds like Bryan was quite involved all the way through.
Yeah, Bryan has been involved in the process since the beginning. I think he wanted to be more involved in this game, so he works with our narrative designer, Yannick, to craft a brand new story. So this is really not a sequel to the first game or a sequel to anything. It's a standalone story that uses the lore of the past to tell a new story. And so they worked together right away from the beginning to craft something completely new that Bryan wanted to tell. And the focus was to have an experience that somebody who doesn't know Scott Pilgrim as well could jump into and still understand and have a good time with, while also giving little tidbits and things to really big Scott Pilgrim fans. So from the get-go, that was the goal, gameplay first, and then telling a fun Scott Pilgrim story that doesn't require like somebody to be fully invested into the lore to be able to enjoy.
Nice. So how would you describe the gameplay of it? What was the phrase you used when we were in there?
An adventure brawler, yes. Yeah. So we can't call it an RPG, but I wouldn't call it just a traditional beat 'em up in the style that people know from our company here at Tribute. There's elements of RPG like shopkeeping, where you can upgrade certain stats, you can buy badges, accessories to give yourself different abilities. You can really build a build that is unique to you. Each character has their own really like unique abilities. You have Lucas Lee, who will have a bit more of a brawler style. You've got Roxy, who has a bit more of like that ninja style with her katana. She's got different moves that she can pull from there. And then you're really able to build something more brawly, more agile, more health pool based if you're someone who likes to take a lot of hits. So you have that kind of RPG aspect. There's quest progression. There's some light backtracking, so you have a map that you can explore. There's nothing forcing you to consistently go to the right. You don't have to clear enemies, waves of enemies to be able to move on. So we've kind of pulled away slightly from the traditional beat 'em up while marrying the two to still make it something that people who like beat 'em ups can enjoy, while giving kind of a new action adventure spin to it.
Nice. I really like the map, being able to see like how all the different areas connect. I feel like you don't see that super often.
Yeah, we felt it was important because, of course, the dialogue gives you a lot of context, but it's easy to miss that sometimes. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of colors. It's a very colorful backgrounds and art, and everything's kind of always moving. So we wanted to make sure that people were still able to figure out, like, oh my gosh, where do I go next? They can pull up the map, they can pull up the quest progression, and they're able to find their way around the map pretty easily, I'd say.
Awesome. And what could you say about kind of the setup of the story, because it seems like kind of quite off the wall?
Yes, it is, and in a very Scott Pilgrim way. It kind of doesn't make sense, but you roll with it just because it's fun. Why not? So Yannick and Bryan worked together to create this new version of Scott, which is called Metal Scott, kind of based off of Nega Scott, that idea of like another version of Scott. The origin will have to be kind of discovered as you play the game. Of course, Scott is super enthused to have kind of a video game version of himself.
Yeah.
Ramona's a little less enthused by the idea because, of course, Metal Scott has kidnapped all the members of the Sex Bombs as well as their instruments, and they have a show tonight. And so your job is to kind of go throughout all this kind of new version of Toronto that has random rifts kind of throughout, where there's beaches, there's Ice Age, there's different places to explore, to kind of find these instruments, find the members of the Sex Bombs, bring them back together, and play the show tonight.
Awesome, it was really fun. I like how it's kind of totally unpredictable, like what's going to happen from one moment to the next. It's like 1 minute you're beating up a vegan with a bit of lead piping, and then you're like throwing a yo-yo at a dinosaur like 5 seconds later.
Exactly. That's kind of the wackiness that we wanted to really push into this, because while Scott Pilgrim as a whole really is able to tell very deep stories about loneliness and about relationships, we wanted the game to be something that people can really enjoy and have fun with, while still being able to tell a story that people will want to learn about. So I hope we've kind of towed that line well with the experience that we've created here.
Definitely. And what was it like being at Gamescom, getting the game in front of people, seeing reactions to it and stuff like that?
It's been great. This is our first time getting this in front of people who aren't at the company.
Yeah.
So it's been really fun to see how people explore this world that we've created and how they are interacting with the characters. Getting to see the reactions to some of the dialogue has been really, really fun. Like, we've been sharing that with Bryan. We're like, people love the dialogue. And that's because Bryan helped or has written a lot of it, or has helped Yannick write a lot of it. All of it runs through him. So it's all very deep within the characters. That's how they would react to things. You've got Scott like, sick, there's a metal version of me? Like, awesome. Ramona's like, dude, what? So seeing people react the way that we were hoping they would react to the dialogue, to the gameplay. There's all of these objects in the world that interact and that have physics that are kind of like wacky. Sometimes you have things, I accidentally put a bomb on a skateboard and like threw it at Lucas the other day, and I was like, oops, but everyone's laughing. So it's been really cool to see the positive reaction to what we were hoping would get that reaction from people. So.
Nice. The color palette of it is so like so many games now kind of pump up the brightness to see anything. It's like the opposite of that.
Exactly, and that's very much our brand at Tribute. We're pixel art, we're 2D, we're all those games that you grew up playing on the arcade, that you were like, this is colorful, this is fun. We are all about bringing that back with new and fresh gameplay, and so we're working again with Paul Robertson on the character design art. So he worked on the original game, and he's worked on some of our games like Mercenary Kings. So that's very much his style, and so we're happy to kind of get to imbibe that into this version of the game as well.
Obviously, it's not the ideal setting in which to try and really hear the music, but the music sounded pretty good.
Yes,
as well, right?
yeah. So we are surrounded by other people, so we're trying to be mindful. But we did get to bring back Anamanaguchi to work on this project again.
Nice.
So that was very exciting, and that was kind of one of those things we need to bring back what made the first experience so special. And Anamanaguchi was definitely one of the first. We were like, you're on board, right? And they were like, yeah, we're on board. Definitely. Yeah. So they've done a really great job. We haven't only been able to show off a few tracks, but we're hearing them kind of come to us as we're building this world, and we're getting to bring it in, and it kind of feels like it's making the experience whole. We have the experience without the music comes on, and we're like, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now it's full.
Yeah.
So we're lucky to get to work with them again.
Awesome. And do you have a date for it yet, or is that TBC?
That's TBC, so an exact date we don't have quite yet, but it will be for 2026. So it won't be coming out this year, but we'll hopefully be able to send out a release date and make that public sometime soon.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to learning more and look forward to playing.
Thank you so much for playing.
No, thanks for having us.
Radio Times does gaming.
Thank you for listening to the Radio Times Gaming Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the pod and share it with a friend, won't you? Please. We'll see you next time.